Welcome to Baltic Landlords, an international broadcast about real estate development, property management, and income sustainability. I am your host, Tarvids, and my guest today is Mark Tarvids, certified real estate appraiser and executive of Riga Appraisal Department at Interbaltija. Mark, welcome to Baltic Landlords.
Hi, David.
Let's talk about real estate development. What are some quick tips for real estate developers which they should take into consideration before deciding on the potential project or the location?
The location is number one, of course, always. And in our economy today, I think they should decide whether it is commercial or residential, because as you know, commercial real estate is being influenced and hit the most by this COVID situation. But anyway, I see many new projects developing because they usually take a lot of years. And if you're thinking even about hotels, there are even new hotel projects now in development, because when you build them, probably the market and everything will be all right in the market and with the health. So any developer should not stop. He just has to consider and think wisely about the project that he's going to develop. That's it.
Okay, which areas in Riga are being valued at the highest rates right now?
Areas, you mean by territories?
Yeah, like regions.
In Riga city center is the highest in value. A lot of years ago, old Riga was really expensive, but actually in the last years it's much cheaper than the quiet center. So if we're talking about the highest prices, they're usually in the quiet center of Riga.
Do you see any business clusters developing in other areas except the city center?
It's Skanstas region is developing really fast. Many banks have their offices, and I see new developments there, and there are a lot of land that is being developed, and the infrastructure is being built. So Skanstas region is I think top development place in Riga or near Riga center.
Okay, and what do you think about the city plan of 2030? Basically, the agenda is to move the city center to the left side of the Daugava River. Do you think that's possible to move the city center there, or is it just a great ambition by the government?
You know, everything is depends on the infrastructure and supply and demand. So if the infrastructure is being built on the left side, if the city is going to invest a lot of money in infrastructure, of course the developers will consider building more these commercial buildings there, because if you have to do it yourself, I mean the developer has to invest his money in infrastructure. It's too expensive, and because these communications and other infrastructure costs really much money. And if the city is going to invest, why not? But I think it's a lot of work and a lot of years ahead to accomplish something like that.
Okay, and what about the regions of private house villages? Which areas are the best for building a private house if we look from the standpoint of sustainability and potential value increase in the future?
I think everything around 20-30 kilometers from Riga center is a good choice, because people are moving from the apartments, from flats to private houses and everything around Riga. If you can come to Riga in half an hour, it's the same if you take a bus from some district from Zoltude to center. It will take you half an hour on a bus in the morning. And if you can come from a private house in 30 minutes time, so actually that will show you this area or radius where you can buy a house. So everything relatively close to the center is developing, and I don't think that one should consider listen to my words and let's say Salaspils or Babīte or Mārpe or whatever is better. Every person has his geographics, his kids, his schools, so he has to find a convenient place. And I think that well, as I said, in this 30 minutes or 30-kilometer radius around Riga is a good choice.
But based on supply and demand, which areas, in your opinion, are with the most potential? Is it the Salaspils, Ikšķile, Ogre side, or maybe Babīte, Mārpe, and that side of Riga?
I don't see any one region which is better. So if Mārpe is more developed, the prices are already high there. And if Salaspils or around Salaspils regions are maybe less developed and the prices are lower there, if you look for this standpoint of view, probably the prices can go up there if the demand increases. But I wouldn't point out any just one region. I think every region has its positive and negative sides, so it's not just one, left or right. Both sides of the river are developing.
Okay, and what other specific things are there that raise the valuation of a building in appraiser's eyes, on the top of the location of it, of course?
It's usually the second thing the appraiser looks at is the planning and the area of the house at top of demand. I have recently, actually yesterday, watched cadastral service one seminar, and they said that the demanded area of the house by the buyers is decreasing all the time. So people are selling big houses that are over 200 square meters, and now the average price, average area of the house that they see is around 112 square meters. So the second, as I told you, if the location is chosen, if this area is really compact and in demand, then it will the square meter of this area will be higher, much higher than, for example, 200 square meter house.
And how many bedrooms is that, like 112 square meters?
It's usually standard is 3-bedroom house.
So that's the perfect amount that most of the people seek, right?
Yeah, it's like in top of demand 3 bedrooms, and I have seen 3 bedrooms in 80 or 90 square meters and 110, 130 square meters. So 110 is something average, but as I told you, there are smaller houses with similar bedroom number and bigger houses.
And what's the difference in price between 3-bedroom apartments in Riga, for example, and these 3-bedroom houses?
If you look at these square meter prices, they are actually close. But in new developments in Riga, the construction costs are getting higher and higher. So in new developments, you have to sell close to 2,000 per square meter to make the project financially good. And if you are talking about a house in around Riga region, maybe 1,300 or 1,500 euros per square meter is okay. So if you compare like that, then the house is actually less expensive.
Mm. And does the valuation of commercial objects and housing stock differ from each other? And if yes, then how?
Well, if you are talking about housing, the main thing that determines the price is comparable sales and supply and demand. I mean, we look at the price levels in this region and what sales have occurred, and we value based on this information. And if we're talking about commercial, the main thing why you buy something commercial is you want a cash flow. So the approach is completely different. So you have to think what yield are you interested in, and what is the potential cash flow of the object.
Mm. And what yields are, what is the average yield in Riga market for commercial units, and what yield should investors aim for to make a good investment in these commercial buildings?
Well, the buyers always want to find something between 7 and 9% probably yield, and the sellers usually offer 6% or 5% yield. So if we are talking about premises in city center, I see deals at 7 and even at 6, and sometimes even office buildings are being sold below 6% yield. So it really differs in each segment. It differs what risks do potential investors see, and what is the cost of their money. There are funds that are investing in real estate, and then they have possibility to invest with low yields, maybe 6 or 5, I don't know. But some private investors are always looking for 7 to 10% yields because they have their own money or more expensive money. So it's really different yields. And, one new thing that is developing and could be developing in the nearest future is apartment houses for rent houses, because we have a new rent law now this year, and it should make this segment more interesting for the investors.
Yes, and about these commercial buildings for investments, are there any cases where investors pick these 5 or 6% yield premises with the thought that in the future they will manage it better and raise the potential yield of the year? Or are they just happy with those 5 or 6% returns?
Well, it's usually the case why the deals happen, because investors see the potential in the building. Of course, each investor has a strategy. Some want to get a property that is already good managed, and there is maybe not such a good potential for growth or development, but the cash flow is stabilized, and it's optimal. And other investors are looking for properties where they see opportunities to improve management and of course improve the cash flow. And so this way they are increasing this. Those are probably called value investors. There are cash flow investors and value investors. So everyone has his own strategy, and there are deals on both, for both.
It has been 12 full months since the beginning of pandemic. What has changed in the real estate valuation industry ever since?
You know, at first, people were like scared, yeah, and the forecasts were that the prices should fall 5 to 10% by the end of the last year, and actually that did not happen. So it was maybe there were some difficulties in valuation in the middle of last year because you didn't know where the market is going. So we did some valuations and saw that the prices were dropping a bit, but it happened maybe for a couple of months because of, as I told you, people were like uncomfortable, scared what will be, and some decided to drop the price significantly, and thus there was a supply, but short-term supply of maybe a bit cheaper properties. And those who used that opportunity, they actually gained, because today the prices are even higher and they are raising, and the construction costs, as I told you, are raising because the wood and the steel is raising like Bitcoin, as I heard from one guy. Interesting saying. So now if you are asking about valuation, then it's like almost no difference like before this so-called crisis.
I remember last year in April, the total deal count was around like 300 compared to March, where it was like around 1,000.
Yeah.
How many months did it took to recover to the normal deal amount per month?
I didn't track that. I think closer to the end of the year, but I didn't track that. I can tell you that the last couple of months this year, I think that it's back and it's surpassed, because probably there was a postponed demand, because people just waited and didn't buy, and now in this spring people understood that the prices aren't going down, they are going just up, and so they came back to the market, and the market was and is booming like now.
What are the numbers currently, for the perspective?
What numbers?
The total deal count, for example, for April.
I told you I didn't track that. I didn't track that.
Okay. And at what level is real estate market liquidity right now? I remember that a year ago on a show called Intelligence of Money, you mentioned that liquidity had virtually stopped.
Yeah.
Has anything changed during these months?
Yes, as I just said, that now it's booming. It's from a stop to the full power. I see that there are a lot of buyers in every segment. If we are talking about housing, it's apartments, houses, renovation. So it's people all forgot what happened a year ago.
Mm. And what is in demand today, or do people just want to buy everything?
I think people have spent a lot of time at home in their apartments, and they are trying to improve their living circumstances, because they understood that if you have something like a pandemic and you have too few rooms, you can't work from home, that's a problem. So there is really a really raised demand in housing, in private housing. So and lands for private house buildings and private houses, and also flats, because probably some people were living with their parents. I don't know every family has its own plans or possibilities. But I think that this so-called COVID crisis have shown us that we have to we need our own home for each other. So in housing there is a really high demand.
As I hear from real estate people, there's getting more and more less these lands for development, especially for the private housing, these good deals. What do you look after when looking for a land to build a house on?
I look for infrastructure, because if you buy a house, it means that you need a car. Of course, if you compare to the city, you have public transport. But if you buy a house, of course, you have to consider logistics. If you have kids and you need to transport them to some activities, schools. Of course, now it's from home, but this time will pass, and you will have to return to schools and other activities. So, what would be important to me is the same public transport near a private house or land, and infrastructure. How far is the school or the nearest city if it's not in the city?
Okay, I think the answer to my next question is self-evident, but I will ask it anyway. Is it a good time to sell right now?
Is it a good time to sell? Like one real estate agent told me, for the sellers, we usually say that it's good to sell, and for the buyers that it's good to buy, for the market to move.
Yeah.
But real estate is something that is a unique product, because there are no two similar. Maybe they are neighbors, but still they are not similar. So if you are trying to buy something and you have found what you really like, and you feel that the place is good, the price is good, you can buy it. Then you should buy it, because you are buying for yourself. If you are like an investor, it's a different point of view. You have to think differently. But if you are buying something for yourself, and you have found it, I think it's time to buy. And if you are a seller, if you have plans, if you need this money to, I don't know, buy something else or invest somewhere else, and you found a buyer now, then you have to sell, because I don't see any signs of prices going down. Probably they will go up. No one knows how fast. Maybe 1%, maybe 5%, or whatever percent. But if you are waiting, you are losing other opportunities. So if you are a seller and you have a buyer, then just think, you will get the money. What will you do with this money? If you are in need for this money to buy a house, then sell and buy a house.
And what do you say to the sellers who ignore the market prices and put out their listings like 5, 10, or sometimes even 20% above the market price? Is it a good strategy to try to push the market higher, or is it just a waste of time and money in that regard?
You have to try and sell higher. Of course, I think every seller is trying to sell higher, and it's okay and it's good. If you really want to sell, maybe you can try to set the price a bit higher. I don't know, some percent higher or 10% higher, and maybe then negotiate with the buyer. But if you are just looking for some I don't know, lottery ticket, and maybe you don't need to sell right now, maybe you can put 30% higher and wait for a miracle. So I also will tell what one agent told me. if a seller comes to him and asks to help to sell, then he is asking back, are you really wishing to sell, or you just want to look what is happening in the market? So if you want to sell, then just put the market price maybe a bit higher and sell it. If you are just testing the market, then do it on your own.
Okay, and for the listeners who don't quite understand how the market price is determined, how do appraisers determine the market price for a current building? Okay, location is one thing. What comes next? What do you take into consideration?
The location determines the price level usually, and the second is the quality. The quality of the building. Is it wooden? Is it stone building or concrete building? And the quality of planning, because you can make 2-room bedroom with 100 square meters, or you can make a 4-bedroom apartment in 100 square meters. So the quality of interior design and the planning, all is taken into consideration.
Okay, let's talk about the materials. Which are valued at the lowest and which are the top rated material in buildings?
You know, on average, people usually use similar materials in all projects. It's really rare that we look at the high quality materials as a really big additional value, because you know, if we are looking at this quiet city center, of course you will not put the floor like 10 euros per square meter. Probably it will be 50, sometimes 100, I don't know, because the prices are 3,000, 4,000 per square meter maybe, if it's top end. But if you are talking about other districts, average apartments where materials cost around 15 or 20 or 25 euros per square meter, then it's no difference. Is it wooden or is it laminate or what? And the walls you usually can paint yourself. So the main thing usually should be floor, because it's like inconvenient to change. So of course it should not be the cheapest, but the average is okay.
Okay, and for example, in these private houses, let's say we have one which is complete wooden structure and one is, let's say, stone plus wood and glass, more complex one. What is the price fluctuation between these two buildings? Maybe we can compare to a concrete one as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, the wooden construction is developing really good, and there are ready-made. I mean, in these kā tiek ražošanā, ražotas mājas.
Construction development.
So there are facilities that are producing these ready-made houses, and the quality of this wooden house is close to a concrete house. So the difference in prices are maybe 5 or 10%. So no big difference today. Of course, if you make it yourself and it's not made in this I forgot the word about this ražotas mājas. Ražotnēs. Ražotne, kā pateikt? Ražotne.
Factory maybe.
Factory, yes, factory, exactly. So there are factory-made houses, and the houses that you are just call the workers and they do it yourself at the place. So this factory made houses are really close to concrete, and if you make it yourself, of course the quality will be lower. Maybe the difference will be a bit more, but really a bit, because you know, some 15 years ago there was still opinion that in Latvia you should only have a concrete or stone house. But today I see that wooden houses are really developing and are really in demand. People are buying a lot of wooden houses.
So if I understand correctly, despite the material choice or interior design, the price, the valuation cannot exceed this price range or this price level that this location set. Is
Yeah.
it correct?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's talk about your taste in real estate. Do you prefer commercial objects or housing stock for personal investments?
I prefer both, you know. Mm, I look for both cash flow and value, because there are opportunities in every segment. So if you are some part of your investments, if you want a stable cash flow, just buy an apartment or a commercial premise if you have this opportunity and amount of free money. And if you are if you want to build something and sell something, you can also look for the land. So if you are asking me, I'm looking for both, as I told you.
And as for the housing stock in the territory of Riga, which are the most valued areas? I suppose Measure Parks and Center would definitely be in that category. Are there any areas with a high valuation or maybe a potential to go in that category?
You know that others are, if you compare both sides of the river, other districts are approximately similar. Purciems maybe is a bit more expensive. Then comes Zolitude on the left side of the river. Every district has its brother or sister on the other side of the river. So yes, as you said correctly, that Measure Parks probably and city center are the highest, and others are similar.
And what do you think about Jurmala? The development there and the market prices, have they changed during these years? Have they risen, and will they continue to rise in the future?
What I know about Jurmala is that the supply is shrinking there. So in these past years, the development has probably shortened or maybe stopped, not stopped at all, but the supply has shortened. So the prices are not going down anymore, I think. So I see some buildings that were not finished, new buildings were not finished, and during this COVID year, I see that they are being finished now. It means that the developers see the stability and opportunity for selling these new projects.
And do you see any other area around the coast of Baltic Sea which has this huge potential? For example, Pavlos definitely is one of them, because there the supply is really getting low because everyone is buying up the properties there. Are there maybe any other such areas?
Well, I wouldn't name some specific areas. I just see about the regions. I see that the houses that weren't able to be sold for years are sold now, because this pandemic, as I told you before, have taught people to think out of the flat, and no one wants to spend so much time in a flat, in apartment. So of course the price level will be different. Is it closer to the seaside or far further? But everything in the region is also in raised demand, and prices are raising.
Okay. Do you agree that the best way to invest in real estate is by bargaining? And what is the goal in terms of percentage from the market price to say it is a great deal? Is it 20%, 30%, or is it possible to even go further than that?
Bargaining, tas ir tirgoties? Kalēties, yeah. You know, I think that people in Latvia are mostly shy, and many people feel inconvenient bargaining. But I think you have to do it. You have to try. I think it's there are possibilities. If you are talking about value investors, I hear a lot of stories where people can buy 20% lower than the market price. But that happens with real estate professionals. If you have your job, you can't spend whole day looking for investment opportunities and bargaining. So if you are a programmer, then do your programming and just buy at a market price and don't think about it. And if you are a real estate professional, of course, it's your job to bargain.
What are the best arguments to use in such bargaining situations to bring the price down to a certain level that makes you want to get that deal?
I'm not a real estate agent, so I can't share experience in that. I usually, if I try to buy something, I just offer a price what is interesting to me. And if a seller is okay with that, he sells. I think if you want to buy at a really low price, you have to see the bailiffs, visit the bailiff's website, or you have to spend a lot of time searching for these pearls. But if you have found something, maybe you can bargain a little bit, and if it meets your financial plans, then just buy it.
Okay, but what is the discount range that you look for or consider when looking at a property, and you see that the price is higher? Like, what is the percentage range to interest you? For example, let's say the house is listed at the market price as well.
I see. I think that if we are talking about a speculative deal, then it would be interesting at least a 20% discount. But I'm not in this speculation business so much, so maybe it's not a good question to me. But if I would consider something like that, then I would look for at least 20% discount.
Okay. And how do you see the future of valuation business? What will change? What has changed during your career? And what other implementations do you see forthcoming?
I see that the quality of valuation services has increased really significantly, because we have the information availability is really gone much further. So we have good statistics, and there are some tries to make some robot valuations, automatic valuations, but I personally don't see real future for this robot valuation. Maybe some standardized typical apartments, maybe some really some segment maybe of the market, maybe probably for some indications. But as I told you, each real estate is quite unique, and if you want a precise valuation, then you need a person. And we have this cadastral valuation, for example, and many residents and people are not satisfied because sometimes it's low, sometimes it's high, and it's not representing many aspects of this real estate being valued. So maybe in the future there will be a possibility for people to make an individual valuation for this cadastral value, probably. But in other cases, I would say that real estate valuation is going to be better in quality each year, because as I told you, information is being more and more available.
So even artificial intelligence won't do as good of a job as a person can, right?
Yes, as I told you, you can get an indication, but you will not trust. Maybe someday, when maybe somewhere in Germany where the market is like not changing for years, or maybe changing 1% a year, maybe it can work. But in our country, maybe there are decades to something like that.
Okay, what is the mission or vision of Interbaltija in real estate market of Baltic states?
We want to offer high quality services in real estate valuation and development, and also selling and buying. So we can actually offer the whole spectrum for an investor.
Okay, where can people find you?
They can find me in the internet at interbaltija.com, or in our office in the center at Martus Street.
Okay, I appreciate this conversation, Mark. Thank you for sharing your time with me and Baltic landlords. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.